Catus Maximus here, another brand new ratchet I haven't done a video about. This is not one I'm going to end up keeping because it's just a basic single pawl, kind of a SK variation, or actually it's just about an SK copy of a single pawl, single rocking pawl, round head ratchet. This is made by somebody in the group of either Proto, Thorson. You can always tell those tools in that family because they have the MFD USA, and it's always like this little tiny stacked thing. This happens to be a 4X385 half-inch drive. One thing I'll give them credit for is many round head ratchets have pretty loose handles. This one's really not too bad concerning what it is. The ball detent, a little bit soft. This one's old and beat up. You can see some chipping on the chrome. The chrome's overall held up pretty decently considering what it is. I do like that the reverse knob is inset. We can see that it moves with this collar. Roundhead ratchets, some brands and some styles, have issues what's known as self-reversing. So what ends up happening is as you're using it, designs where this reverse knob can come in contact with the body, some of them have an issue where when you're ratcheting, as soon as you go forward some, there's that backlash there. And there's actually enough friction to where when you go take up the backlash, it actually causes the reverse knob to start to turn, either causing the ratchet to fully self-reverse or to at least lock up or skip. And so there's many ways around that. I have many round head ratchets which absolutely have no issues with self-reversing. One design trait is this, where they just simply have the reverse knob inset into the rotating portion of the body so that when you're moving the handle, there's no way that it can affect. The other thing is, oddly enough, for a swing pawl, this reverse knob moves really far. As we can see, it's almost 90 degrees, where usually it's a lot less than that. Even though it's just a single rocking pawl design, certainly pretty darn chunky. Definitely a stout spring in there. Other than that, not much else to talk about besides I like documenting hand tools. And I'm debating. I just did a video about a Uri ratchet. It was just so poorly made that I'm just going to get rid of it because it's just so junky. It's not even worth keeping in my arsenal. I usually keep ratchets I really like that are really good designs. And there's so many of them that the cheaper designs or simpler ones just, don't make me super happy. The head is super basic. It doesn't even have a counter bore. It's just machined and then threaded through. So the only way you know what's on top is where it says Dayton. And as we can see, just not a lot going on in there. Just a single rocking pawl. SK design, except for this pawl, I will give them credit for, is super wide. And that's probably ultimately what makes this a pretty strong ratchet. I say the weak point would actually be the pin that this pawl is actually rocking on, that center pin. Many of these ratchets, that's actually what ends up breaking, is you put so much force that pin ends up shearing because it's just simply the lowest denominator, the thinnest piece of metal where the force is being applied. There are 3 teeth on the pawl. If we take a look here, we can see that this pawl is 7/16 of an inch wide, so almost ½ inch wide. It's like a 11 millimeter wide pawl. That's actually pretty large, and probably contributes to it not skipping and at least having a halfway decent amount of strength. Is just because they're just overcoming it with a large amount of surface area. So it's just kind of the coarse, simple, basic round head ratchet, but having a reasonably tight tolerances, a decent design so it doesn't self-reverse, and just a lot of engagement area. Probably a lot of people who own these Dayton ratchets probably found them to be pretty reliable. Probably the worst part about this ratchet is that it does not have a very strong, the detent, if you can push it in with your finger easily, it's a pretty soft detent. Certainly will hold on sockets, but if you have big sockets with extensions, a little jerk and I'm sure they'd pop off. I'm sure I can get this socket to pop off of there. You can see this one has had a fair amount of use to do the polishing on the anvil, but now that we have it cleaned up, Explaining that big pawl explains why it's so loud. It's just kachungus. Anyway, that's my 5-minute video about this Dayton Ratchet. They're not anything to write home about, but, you know, kept lubed. They're, you know, just a simple and reliable tool. And unlike that, once again, that Urea, which is just so poorly manufactured, I couldn't believe it. At least this one has good, you know, fit and finish. Just doesn't use, you know, a New Britain kiln-less design or a twin pawl design like many others. But nonetheless, it's pretty reliable. And I do like that reverse knob is indeed steel on this, not cast zinc. So as far as physical durability, beating around a toolbox, I'm sure it'd last for a long time. Last thing to note, very weak knurling. Would have liked to see much more aggressive knurling. We can also see this oddball band here, which looks like one of the teeth on the knurling tool was broken when this was made. Anyway, thanks for watching.